About 3 years ago, I got a new phone. Brand new was what my mother had told me. She had gotten it for me for my birthday. I noticed that my new phone was pretty freaking similar to my iPad. I was satisfied with my gift. Now I had an iPhone that was just like my iPad. So if I forgot to take one with me, I could easily take the other. I had the phone for less than a week when the strange voicemails came. The first one I received was clearly a man calling from a company, most likely trying to sell me something I didn't want. "I am speaking to Angelina Ranchera," he said.
No, that isn't me. I don't know an Angelina Ranchera.
I said, annoyed. I didn't want this new phone to already constantly get wrong numbers. The man seemed urgent. He was desperate to get to Angelina Ranchera. I hung up on him because I couldn't tell him anything about a woman I didn't know. Over the span of a few weeks, the voicemails and calls became increasingly annoying, and now everyone that called seemed to need to talk to Angelina. Multiple people had called saying that Angelina hadn't paid her taxes, hadn't done this and that. I was beginning to realize that most of the calls were trying to get a hold of Angelina because she was most likely not paying her bills and doing some illegal activities. Then, new voicemails came in. Once again, unknown numbers. These were voicemails in different languages and sometimes nothing at all. I had received many voicemails that were just sounds of people having a random conversation or making random noises, and they seemingly accidentally sent it to my phone. Once I got a voicemail from a close friend, but she seemed to be angry. It was her number, but the voice didn't seem to belong to her. I never mentioned anything because I didn't feel it was necessary. Then I went to her house and I was showing her the random messages I received. She saw her number and said,
I don't think I've ever left you a voicemail.
I agreed. We rarely spoke on the phone. We only texted or met up in person. I showed her the message. It sounded as if she was in a conversation with someone, but she was the only one speaking. She was arguing back and forth, but I couldn't understand what they were saying because the sounds were muffled.
I never sent that,
she said, laughing nervously, but I knew we were both confused. When I went home that day, I immediately knew something was wrong. My house was broken into. The high security alarm system was disarmed, something I barely knew how to do. The dogs that guarded the gate were sitting and acting perfectly normal. I was surprised they didn't either attack the intruder or run over the gate when the intruder broke in. When I went inside, the house looked exactly as I left it, untouched. I expected to find the nice and brand new TV stolen or the expensive jewelry collections my roommate basically left on the display. None of the expensive items were taken. Nothing was moved, except for my iPad that was just like my phone. I searched the entire house, not thinking the intruder might be still inside. I came to the conclusion that absolutely nothing was stolen except for the iPad. The fact that someone could get in confused me at the time. First of all, this was my old house. This house had been literally in the middle of nowhere, except for a few houses around it that all belonged to family. Well, except for one house. One house belonged to a man who would constantly argue and yell at his wife and daughter. One night, we heard 3 gunshots. I figured 1 shot for the man, 1 for the woman, and 1 for the daughter. I had called the police explaining. They never came. I never heard anything about what happened. All the neighbors were home all day and would have heard the alarms going off or seen something out of the ordinary and known my house was being robbed. They complained about hearing our music too loud. Surely they would have heard the dogs barking. Not only that, how did the intruders get in without breaking anything? And they only took one solitary item? I had asked everyone. They all told me the same thing. Your house was broken into. You're lucky they only took one item. The day they broke in was September 10th, 2014. Time went on, and I was still getting voicemails telling Angelina she needed to call, speaking of illegal things Angelina did, and basically making it sound that Angelina was a criminal on the run. And somehow I ended up with her number. I got used to the messages and just let the strange voicemails come. I received yet another voicemail from my friend's number. This time it was her speaking and making noises. I figured she was trying to pull a prank or make me think I got another weird number. But then I heard myself in the voicemail. I was utterly confused. Clearly, I would have remembered calling my own phone number with her, and I would have remembered speaking with her and sending it to myself. The voicemail went like this. Me, laughing in the background. Her, saying something about an inside joke we had. Me, it's the worst thing in the world. Her, shrieks. Then there was a loud boom, and the phone echoed and made a whistling noise, and that was the end of the message. I would randomly get whistling phone calls, noises that sounded like my phone was breaking. The phone calls still came. Angelina was still on the run apparently. September 10th, 2015 came. The house was broken into exactly the same way it was before. They had figured out how to disarm the alarm system so it wouldn't make any noise. Somehow they managed to befriend our dogs so the guard dogs didn't attack. And somehow they had managed to not cause anything noticeable to the other family members that were watching our house, ready if someone tried breaking in. I gave up on the house and moved to a new place. I have since gotten a new phone completely and obviously a new number. So far, this phone hasn't seemed to belong to a criminal on the run, and so far I haven't gotten any strange numbers. I can only hope that since I moved away and since I replaced the phone, that this was just someone calling a wrong number. I still do wonder what exactly Angelina Ranchera did, and where she was on the run to. I still wonder if she was ever caught, and if my phone had anything to do with her getaway. I still wonder what I would experience if I had that old phone or lived in the same house, but I'm perfectly happy having a new house and a new phone. Two years ago, I started university in a town 6 hours away from where I grew up. I moved on short notice with 1 month to find a place to stay. I ended up living about 45 minutes outside of the city where my university is. Eventually, I grew tired of taking the bus in and having so far to go every single day, and so I started looking into buying an apartment. About 4 months ago, I moved into my own apartment. I moved all of my things and unpacked in one day. I like to think I am very organized and I know where everything is. I was thoroughly enjoying living only 10 minutes away from my university. Because I am so organized, I noticed really quickly that things started moving around. There are 3 sets of keys to my apartment, and I have all of them. So I quickly ruled out another person moving my things around. Yet every time I would come home from school or a night out, small things like my shoes or my makeup would be in another spot. I thought I was going crazy for a while, because I knew I wasn't moving it and nobody else could get in. So after a while, I assumed that perhaps I was just forgetting that I had moved my own things around and forgotten about it. Recently, I have been suffering from some severe anxiety, so I stopped going to school or leaving my apartment, so I have spent a lot of time at home, doing nothing. Which is when I noticed that somebody is peeking in my mailbox several times a day, every day for the week. I am assuming it is to see if I'm home or not. I've tried to peek out the peephole to see who it is, but I grew tired after a few hours of waiting, and when they eventually came to peep in, I go to look at who it is, and they hide. This far in my story, I just think things are weird and hoping I'm not living in a building with nutcases. Well, a few days after noticing somebody had been peeping into my apartment, I noticed somebody has keys to my apartment. I was taking a shower and my bathroom is right next to the front door. I heard somebody open the door, step in, bang on my bathroom door and leave. Naturally, I freaked out. Here where I live, and I am assuming everywhere else, when you buy an apartment, you get all the keys to the apartment. Nobody has any extras or copies they can use. That would be illegal. I still have all my keys, so obviously somebody that is not the previous owner, she moved abroad, so I know it is not her, has a set of keys to my apartment and is doing God knows what with it. It's clear to me that whoever has the key is stepping things up gradually, making me paranoid and scared in my own home, more and more for each day. I think at first whoever this is just moved my things around to mess around with me, peeped in the mail drop to see if I was home or not, and eventually got tired of me not leaving my apartment, so took the risk of entering my apartment while I was still in it. I'm scared of what this person will do next. Obviously, I will need to get my locks changed, but I got so scared when this happened I jumped on the first best plane to go back to my parents' house. I need to be there in presence when they change out my locks, which means I have to go back to my apartment, and God only knows what I will find when I come back home. I first noticed the mole people, as I like to call them, a few months after I moved into my ranch. It started off as very subtle things like food missing, my dog barking at the window when there was nothing there, and waking up in the middle of the night feeling like I was being watched. I always just brushed them off as either dog things or paranoia from moving into a new unfamiliar place. The night things got stranger was when my phone went off while I felt like I was being watched. Another sleep paranoia episode. Great, I thought to myself. After I was about to drift back into the land of sleep, my phone buzzed. Who would be messaging me at this time? I got up from my queen-size bed and stumbled over to my work desk that I had my phone charging on, along with my laptop and tablet. I looked at my phone. The time read 11:27 and one new notification from Elam El Pope. Mole people backwards. The notification was a picture of my backyard out of my window, the half-finished fence I was making for a garden, the hill that went up to my property line, the ladder I used to clean the gutters a few days before, the lawnmower I had out but hadn't needed to use because of how bad my lawn is at growing grass. And the false rock to hide my spare key were all in the picture. As I looked at the picture more closely, I noticed that it was taken from inside my room. I went into the information section of the messages to see if I could call them. If they are contacting my phone already, they have to have a number, I reasoned with myself. I looked at where the phone number should be. Nothing. A few months later, after all the snow had finished melting, I received another message from Mole People. I was working from home, proofreading contracts, fixing grammar errors and possible loopholes for my company when I received it. I glanced down at my phone to see the same picture as last time except for the lawnmower, which was in the shed, and how the grass had a frost on it. I looked out the window to see if the frost from this morning was still on the grass. Well, now I know when it was taken. I examined the photo once more and saw where it was focused, in between my garden and my dog's playpen. I shoved my phone into my pocket and decided to go check the area the photo was focused on. As I was approaching the area, I felt a chill go down my spine, and the feeling of anxiety rushed through my body. If they could get into my room so quietly, they could get rid of me just as easily, I nervously thought to myself. I stood at the border of my garden and the playpen, with a shovel in my hand for about 10 minutes, debating whether or not to start digging. They wouldn't have focused here if they didn't want me to find something, I argued with myself. What if they're batting you? I contradicted myself once again. I decided what's under there is best unearthed. 3 months of fertilizing my lawn and garden, watering it, and growing passed until I decided the lawn needs to be mowed. I backed my riding mower out of the shed, filled it with gas, grabbed my phone and headphones, started playing some music, and mowed away. Everything was going great. I was doing a great job, if I do say so myself, until I got to the backyard. I was mowing in front of the caged area when I heard the undeniable thunderous sound of metal being dented in. What the hell was that? I yelled. I jumped off the mower and looked at the engine. As I started messing around with the engine, the entire mower tilted onto one side away from me. The mower started sliding down cement stairs, descending into the depths of my yard. Scrapping the paint job I did myself, leaving chips of paint on the stairs behind it until it hit the rest of my yard. As soon as the mower made contact with the dirt and uncut grass, it caved in on top of half my lawnmower. I stared in shock at what just had happened in front of me. I couldn't stop replaying the scenario in my head until I heard shrieks coming from under my lawn. Yelling from males, females, children. I even think I heard a baby. Hello? I yelled at the ground. Do you need help? I yelled again at the ground. A pipe with razor edges shot up from the ground and a voice echoed through it. Go inside and check your email, David. The pipe echoed. I did as it said. I sat down at my work desk and opened my laptop. I signed into my email to see one unread email. Subject: We can be dangerous, very dangerous. I clicked on the email and saw a picture of my phone and my spare keys. How did they get those? I said aloud. The email gave me a list of things to do and what would happen if I didn't do it. Leave doors unlocked at all times. Die if you don't. Do as we say. Die if you don't. Kill all family. Die if you don't. My head was spinning. I love my family, but I don't want to die. I also don't want my family to die. A new email popped up. Subject: Time is ticking, my friend. I clicked on the email to see a digital clock counting down, reading 8 days, 23 hours, 30 minutes, 46 seconds, 45 seconds, 44 seconds.